The president is incredibly grateful to his donors. But unlike the politicians of the past, he can't be bought by anyone. That quote came from a real spokesperson that was tasked with defending a real program where, per the New York Times, $1 million bought you a photo op with Donald Trump. 2.5 bought you microphone time at his party. And yet, Donald Trump can't be bought. But of course, he does still have a price list. And I guess those things might technically be different, maybe from a legal standpoint, I assume, or something. But you have to remember, when this administration was planning America's 250th birthday, they shoved aside the actual bipartisan commission that Congress chartered a decade ago to do exactly this, to celebrate America's 250th. And yet Donald Trump and his regime decided to throw their own party that they could control with no real oversight. And instead of America 250, they called it Freedom 250. And the Republican-led Congress gave them $150 million taxpayer dollars. Yet Freedom 250, of course, promised that private donors would cover anything over that. Yeah, you know, rich man's birthday party and other rich men will chip in. Sure, solid plan. Except, well, about that. Because last week, the administration quietly, as in didn't really put this out in the press, quietly said that Trump's outfit was asking Congress for $10 million more to cover the ridiculous prayer event and that pitiful 16-day state fair and the environmental disaster that was dressed up as a fireworks show. A prayer service, a fair, and fireworks. And they ran $10 million over budget. I am pretty sure you can find all three of those things at the same event right here in the Florida Panhandle, all on the same night, same place. They'll probably even feed you. And it's usually attached to like a high school football game or something. But man, they'd love to have $10 million. And so Senator Jeff Merkley, who oversees all this funding, said that it is unacceptable to ask the American people to bail out Freedom 250. Because if the administration designated Freedom 250 as the responsible entity for all of these events, Freedom 250, not the taxpayers, should be paying the remaining costs. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much the entire thing in a statement. And you have to remember, this whole Freedom 250 thing was awful. From that wooden arch mock-up that was literally falling apart at the seams, to the fireworks that started late and caused an environmental disaster, the people leaving the big keynote speech early, and states like North Carolina refusing to even build their own state booth because the price made no sense. Now, of course, for North Carolina, a private group covered putting up a booth instead, and they put up a Confederate flag. America. And so look, that fair flopped, the fireworks were late, and the whole thing was a national embarrassment. And now the invoice lands on us, the taxpayers. And look, this whole thing, the politician wanting private donors to fund a party, his dinner, his speech, whatever, and then the donors get a photo op and FaceTime in return, that happens a lot. But I have to ask you guys, at what dollar amount should we draw the line? I mean, everybody does it. But when is it too much? $100 a plate, $1,000 a plate, $100,000 a plate? Let me know in the comments where you would draw the line. Because there is a line written in Merkley's letter that nobody really has picked up on, and it's the most interesting sentence in this whole document. Because he's not just asking for the donor list. My favorite part is he's asking for, quote, any withdrawn or canceled donations. And I love this because you have a U.S. Senator formally requesting the names of the people who signed up to pay for the president's birthday and then backed out. And you don't ask that question unless you already suspect that that is a long list. And you have rich people, a group famously comfortable lighting money on fire. They don't bail on a party unless being seen at that party became too expensive. It's not that the cost was expensive, it was being seen was the problem. And Merkley wants answers by August 7th, and I don't think we'll see anything by then, but we will be watching out for it. And look, a department spokesperson says that part of this extra $10 million is for elevated security posture. And that came after the White House Correspondents' Dinner and the separate attacks geared towards Donald Trump. And look, okay, sure. But the way they're doing this, they rolled those actual security costs right up into the same invoice as the fair was empty and the fireworks were late. And it was designed that way so that none of us can figure out the real amounts of anything. How much was really spent on security? And by the way, the tackiness is not over, because next month there's an IndyCar race right there on the National Mall. Cars going 185 miles an hour on a 1.7 mile street circuit right next to the monuments. And look, I love motorsports. I'm a huge F1 guy myself. I miss Danny Ricciardo, and I especially love when Lando beats Max Verstappen. And my kid, she is a diehard Charles Leclerc fan. But look, I am not a huge fan of a hastily thrown together street race around Washington, D.C. to celebrate a fat, alleged dementia patient that just wants to celebrate himself. And that's why I'm going to ask that you hit that notification bell, especially if you didn't see the president's birthday needs $10 million to bail itself out anywhere in the corporate press this week. And again, if you really want to support what we do, please consider becoming a member. And that way you can help us bring you even more of these stories that the mainstream media keeps trying to cover up.